We now have joining us live in the studio Otoba Dari Odufuoko, a senior special assistant to the governor of Ogun State on public communications. Otoba, you're welcome to the program.
Morning, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. And my colleagues, Dominic is also still with us, and together we'll be taking on the next guest.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you. Now let's look at the current measure that has been put in place by the Ogun State government, really, to help the people in weathering the storm of the fuel crisis in the country.
Thank you very much. We all are aware that the price of fuel went up, and expectedly, the transport sector felt it and is still feeling it. But as a government that is always concerned about the people's welfare, and a very proactive one at that, our governor, Prince Abeokuta, immediately swung into action. And his intention is to ensure that while transporters are also held to cope with the development, the people are also protected. They are not allowed to, suffer as a result of what has happened. And the first thing he did was to have a meeting with people, the stakeholders in the transport sector, the transport owners, transport unions, the police, the trace officials, and all that. Come, how can we ensure that our people do not suffer unnecessarily? We understand that as a state government, we don't have control over fuel price. But with this development, what can be done? And that pally led to a lot of good things for the people. For example, it was at that pally that the governor announced, and that's something the government is doing promptly, that 100 buses, 18-seater buses, will be made available to alleviate the effect of this fuel price
for the transport or the transport unions or government will
for the transport union.
Okay.
Don't forget that we pioneered the CNG buses in the country. We have our CNG buses running some of the routes already. Yeah. You can see them on the way, at that turn, the Moson axis, name it. You will find them there, and they are relatively cheaper. Much more cheaper than what public transporters were charging, even before the increment of this fuel regime. However, what the government wants to do now is to create a situation where you can see them, where this CNG initiative will have a far-reaching effect. How? The government is going to give the buses to transport operators. Okay. Through their unions, through their associations, on an individual basis. We should come. We have 100 buses, which will give at some arranged purchase. The hired purchase could be paid installment. In fact, they are not paying once. They need to pay over a stretch of time.
Like mortgage system.
Like a mortgage system. So what is the effect of this? We're going to have the buses running. Now more routes will be covered. Okay. The transport operators themselves will determine where to put their buses. Okay, we want to go this way. So because you cannot put all the 100 in one direction, it will spread across the state. Okay, more people will benefit.
When the government promptly responded to the new fuel regime, price regime, how soon should the people expect these buses? 100 of them?
As soon as possible. It is an immediate, and the government explained that we understand that this has happened now. It's something we want to do immediately, and that's why we brought in the transporters. Come, let us sit down together. Let's fashion this out together. We'll give it to you. He told them that we are doing this because you have shown us that you are reliable. We know if we give you this, you will pay as arranged, then we can do more. That's how this thing will spread, and soon our transport system in Ogun State may just be CNG based. If we continue this kind of, so it's something that is in the immediate.
Talk about the enforcement committee that the government also constituted.
Yes, but you see, the governor, beyond wanting to alleviate the sufferings of the people through provision of these 100 buses, which we believe very strongly will go a long way in helping. We also felt that, look, while we are putting this in place, he feels, yes, price of fuel went up, but the kind of hike in transport fare we see is not commensurate with the hike in fuel price. We need to ensure that our people are not priced to death by transporters. So he brought in the police commissioner, the DSS, trades, and transport unions. Let us regulate what the prices will be out there.
So government will tell them the fare to charge?
Government will not tell them. Okay. The transporters are involved in this now. They're in the committee with the police, DSS, trace. Look at what is fair. And ensure that when you arrive at what is fair, nobody out there. The enforcement is for those who want to go against what the transporters themselves decide. The government is not saying the transporters will not look at the situation and decide what it should be. But when you decide what is fair, ensure that your members out there don't go beyond what you have seen that is fair. And if you have 25%, 30% hike in fuel price, you will expect relatively the same thing.
Yeah, sustainability of this initiative is very key. And what do I mean by that? These buses have been running on CNG. Surely they will need, of course, to also recharge.
Yeah.
Let me use that word, or to refill the cylinder and get on them running. What are the policies to put in place to ensure that
we have even in Ogun State now, we have conversion center, which is the flagship in the whole of Southwest. So the things that we are doing, like I do say, is not somebody who starts something when he is not ready to go all the way. He will look at what it takes, he will consider what should be done, and we have all this in place. Our buses have been running for almost 6 months right now, and we've not seen any of them breaking down and not working, because we have centers that will take care of everything you talk about. We are even now the federal government is even coming with assistance, knowing that we are ready. They are sending some buses and they are sending some conversion kits. This is the government announced, which before the end of this week possibly these things will come, because they know we have the facility. So if you go to Ogun State, you see they are converting already. Let's assist them. So you don't forget that when we came up with this CNG initiative, the idea was, okay, let's start converting vehicles on our road, bring the transporters should bring. The question is always, why is it that we're not seeing some of these conversions? There have been conversions, but it is not at the number we expected, and I'll tell you why. Many of those taxis and buses you see on our road are no longer viable to go through conversion.
So they are not
they are obsolete. They are not compliant. When you spend so much money converting them, the end result is not something that would satisfy the yearnings of government. Many of those buses and vehicles are no longer viable. So the idea was, okay, why spend so much money converting something that will soon be off the road? Why don't we bring in new vehicles, convert them, give to people at hire purchase arrangement or mortgage arrangement, knowing fully well that this will last longer.
What about intra-city transport system as well?
Schools
will resume next week, Monday. Most of these kids will have to transport themselves.
We are talking about taxis and buses, 100 18-seater buses. That's an arrangement. Some of them will still be intra-city.
Okay.
Now, cars, taxis. I told you, some of the arrangements we have running now were intra-city before. But we discovered that, okay, you have an 18-seater bus or a big bus, one of those are big buses, you put it at Okelewo to fly Lafenwa from Okelewo, for example, and the bus will wait for hours. They are moving. You know, it is not enough to just introduce an initiative. You must monitor its success and its viability. So those buses will be there for hours. They won't move. People go in, come down, go in, come down. Do you know why? Our people cannot wait for that bus to get filled up while they could quickly pick a taxi and go to where they are going. Even where, not minding the fact that the fare is cheaper. Time is also of essence. So we discovered that that bus in that place is, in spite of how good the idea is not serving the purpose. So we felt, look, what we need in such places are small vehicles, quick taxis, jump into it, move, come back, and that arrangement is on. You could, already you can see a few taxis moving around too, some combi buses too moving around too. But we want to provide more, especially for the intra-city arrangement, so that people don't have to. By nature, people look at time. Patience is also another issue, and that bus is just there. Is a good idea, but not fitting in that place. That was what also led to the idea of the electric bike. We should now see flying. Yesterday, I was on one for almost the better part of yesterday because I had some movements I had to do, and I was also considering fuel. And I was
about saying that maybe you can't afford
if you can afford it too, the idea is conserve your own fund, even if you can afford it.
Okay. Now let us look.
Conserve your own. So I was telling you about the bike, and charged, and it was moving around, and we kept seeing others carrying passengers, and I asked one of them, you do this for business? He said yes. He said it's more profitable. That's another angle to it.
So in the coming days, are we going to see more of these bikes? I mean,
in fact, you are going to. It is affirmed now that it is a good initiative. You know, we have had the pilot cases, the test cases, and all that. It is affirmed that it's something that will help keep our city clean, even of emission. It is something we have discovered that our youths are more comfortable with. That's another thing, talking about sleaze and, now they feel good sitting on it and being ferried on it. So now that we have seen this, you should expect more of it.
Now let us look at the committee that the government has constituted really to look into the price of transportation fares. Will they be actually making public the agreed transportation fares? I mean, because it is only then that the common man on the road can know if a particular transporter is actually extorting them.
It is obvious. We all know the fares. Once you always know the fare. That's why you can plan your movement. You see, it is always public. The fare of transport fare is always public. From so-so to so-so, we always know how much it is. And that is why transporters are the ones to decide it. They decide in each park they know. From Shagamu to Abeokuta is so amount. Everybody knows because it is public knowledge. So if you now get there and somebody now say it is more than that amount, we expect you to now reach out to that committee. Nobody is not forcing anybody to do anything against his or her wish. But we're only saying, let us go back to that era when I could leave my house with 5,000 naira or 2,000, and I know that I will go to where I'm going and come back. We didn't have a portal where we used to go and check it in those days. It was just common public knowledge.
But of course, we can only know those of interstate travels, but intra-city.
Intra-city will be, I'm sure the transporters will make some pronouncement about it.
Okay.
But I say, I don't know, but maybe you didn't use public transport. Because I know that here in Abeokuta, I've always known how much it would take me from here to Ojere. I know how much it is from Okelewo Itaosin.
But that's subject to your power of negotiation. So he's talking about fixed fare.
It will still be the same. Even during this era of power of negotiation, you know what it should be. You know what it can never be more than. But nowadays, you just tell you, what you want is 600 naira, something that should be 200 naira. And you begin to wonder, how do I negotiate from 600 naira to 200 naira? So if you now say last one 500, you would think he has done you a favor.
Okay, in as much as we are looking at this lofty initiative, we are taking the X-trade, the benefits, it's affordable, it saves time, profitable for those that are operating it. Are we also considering those that are in the oil and gas industry, those independent marketers that own filling stations and the like, because gradually we might phase them out and they will run out of business. And some people might go jobless at the end of the day, and that will also increase unemployment rate in the society. What are we looking at in this direction?
While it is not the concern of my office to look at this, but I must tell you that there is no way introducing CNG will lead to what you just spoke about. CNG itself is still in that sector. One. Two, what we use petrol, which is the issue now, to do, goes beyond public transportation. Big companies requires it. A lot of other processes cannot go on without this petrol and other petroleum products. So that sector is secured. The diesel is still from that sector. A lot of other byproducts, but petrol itself is not something we say CNG will phase out. No.
So that with the
when cooking gas was being popularized, there was a fear that those who deal in kerosene and other will. But today, we still hear about the scarcity of that same product because there are several other uses it is being put to. We still hear about high demand for it.
So that means those people have to also leverage on that by converting their filling station perhaps to a CNG.
Possibly, although that's for filling stations, maybe we may have less need for all their what do you call the is it tanks or what do we call it now?
Okay.
The pumps.
Okay.
The pumps. Less pumps to deal with petrol, more pumps to deal with what people are using more. But I don't see it leading to the loss of job. No, I don't think so. It's an industry. It's a sector that encompasses a lot of things. And petrol itself is a product that is put to more use than just transportation.
Okay.
Now let us look at individuals. I mean, because when somebody was reading this news, actually yesterday in the newsroom, the person was like, "Oh, can individuals, private individuals, also key into this?" And
the buses now.
No,
converting your personal car.
Converting personal cars into.
Exactly. That's why we have the conversion center here in Abeokuta in Ogun State. You just find out, go there, what are the procedures, and I'm even sure that if you do now, it will be subsidized because the government wants to encourage conversion. So if you are coming with your car, still new, viable,
are you saying it will be done? It will be subsidized for anybody who wants to do it?
I'm sure it's going to be cheaper than you going to do it elsewhere. I can tell you that. If you do it here in Ogun State, within the ambit of this government initiative, I am sure it's going to be cheaper than you going elsewhere to do it.
Okay, is government also thinking, well, when you talk about cars now, coming with brand new cars or fairly talkable cars and the likes of that, you know, these cars are products of some companies. Is there any synergy? Because have you taken as an agreement that you want to infringe on their product because you are converting their product into a CNG? Say for instance, I don't want to mention names, but the popular ones that we know, in Nigeria, Toyota is very common, Japanese cars, Nissan, and the rest of that.
The issue of CNG conversion is a global phenomenon. Okay. It's not a Nigerian thing. Even vehicles are now being manufactured directly to be CNG. So I am sure that all needed paperwork will be attended to. That's why I say it's global. So that will be procedure, standard practice. I want to convert your product. This is what I do. It's a government thing. unnecessary things will be seen to.
Can we put it to you that the governor should start bail the cat by getting CNG cars as official cars for PS?
Yeah, you should expect that.
And himself also using a CNG car so that people can know that this is a product that can be trusted.
Yeah, it's expected. It's something we should expect.
So how soon will government extend these conversion centers to other areas? Because other buses will not domicile in
In one place.
In one place.
So
some will be in Songo, some will be in Shagamu, Ijebu.
You should know that with this arrangement will come some expansion. And that is why it is an initiative that has the transporters themselves involved.
Okay.
So the CNG center, the idea before was, let's see how we put it to use. And there is need for us to do some more things, then we'll get, move it to other places. But with this 100 bus initiative, I can tell you that we will ensure that the centers are available for everybody who is using the bus, or who is making use of that bus for transportation. Mm-hmm. And don't forget that when the CNG buses we are talking about, it's not in the center. It's not in the center. They are not to be converted in the center every day. You are already CNG bus. Go and use CNG. So they don't have to be at the center every time. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So it's unlike our electric bike that must go and recharge and all that. And that's too, the charging points have been
so what is
extended.
the lifespan of using a CNG car or bus? What is the lifespan? That is, if you have a CNG vehicle, it can last you maybe 1 hour, 1 year or 2 years before you can renew.
You'll be using your gas. It's just like using petrol. Once it's converted, you get your gas when you
gas is still very scarce. It's still on the high side of price.
It's still cheaper, far more cheaper than what you go through if you have to use petrol. That's the truth.
Now let's talk about
the CNG is far more cheaper.
Let's talk about safety measures. When I saw the tricycle that was also launched by the governor, just underneath the rider, you have the cylinder and the likes of that, and of course, very close to your passengers at the back. Unknowingly and unintentionally, somebody might just bring in a cigarette that I want to enjoy myself, let me light my cigarette and the likes of that. So what are the safety measures being put in place to make sure that we don't begin to record casualties?
Let me first say that it would be strange for anybody to be in that tricycle with other passengers and decide to smoke. That's an extreme situation.
Even the rider can also do that?
With passengers?
Yeah.
So that the first safety measure is to make sure that does not happen. We need to enlighten our people. That's the first safety measure. And the best. Don't do that while you are. Forget about CNG. Even in a normal tricycle, should everybody smoke? No, you shouldn't. Even in your own vehicle, you should not smoke.
So are there safety measures?
So that's the first safety measure. And because we are carrying on carrying along transporter in all this, trainings are being organized by the day. The fact that you must always have all necessary things that will ensure that you are safe within these vehicles. The passengers are not put to any danger. You are trained. You are enlightened. And don't forget that these vehicles are not they are not products of some hide and seek. They are produced to global standard. Some of them are actually not produced here, they are brought in. So I am sure that safety measures have been taken ordinarily to ensure that what you see in the cylinder or whatever is not as exposed as it could cause danger without far-reaching provocations. And part of those far-reaching provocations are what you have mentioned. Somebody out of the blues decide to smoke. So first, you and I
must ensure that
that doesn't happen. Transporters must ensure that doesn't happen. If you are a passenger and somebody brings you out to say, okay, you tell me, I hope you are not smoking here. For everybody's safety. So that's just the first.
Now we have very limited time to go, but of course with the numbers on the screen, it shows that you also have the opportunity to be part of this conversation. So if you have any question bothering your mind on this initiative put in place by the government, feel free to call us. And of course, the senior special advisor to the governor would answer your question. Let us also look at what the federal government is actually coming up with, according to the governor when he was addressing the gathering day before yesterday. He said by this week or before next week, no less than 500 conversion kits would actually be coming from the federal government to Ogun State. How much of a help, really, would that?
That would be a lot of help. Conversion kits. When you say conversion, that's one kit that can help convert a vehicle. So, you know the number of vehicles we are talking about now. So, and aside that, 20 CNG buses. 20 buses that are already CNG compliant
from the federal government.
And why is the federal government doing this? They could see that the initiative is thriving in Ogun. And what they want to do is support us. Because the federal government too understands the need for this initiative at this time. The less people have to spend on fuel, the better for all of us.
I hope the governor will consider we civil servants that they will really subsidize the conversion for us, because a lot
that is why I'm saying approach our conversion center. I am sure that it will be cheaper than you going to do it elsewhere. A civil servant, a citizen of Ogun State, you are a resident of Ogun State, take advantage of it. It is not always enough, I say this often, to feel that government policies are not actually people friendly. We have people who, they don't only feel that way, they sell, they propagate that thought. So as citizens, I always plead, don't be swayed by such propagations. Approach the necessary places, find out about it. I shared the story of when we were having this surgery. I still visited the old man about 2-3 weeks ago, somewhere in Ilara. The old man was at he wanted to go and withdraw money from a POS operator, and he met a copper there. And he had the copper talking on phone that they are doing free surgery at one general hospital near the place, and the man said, everything better. The old man, retired, he had this lump requiring a surgery. He's carried it for about 22 years. While he was working, he couldn't afford.
Okay, we have a caller. Abeokuta is calling from Abeokuta. Hello, Abeokuta, we can hear you.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, sir. I want to ask our guest that why is it that, first of all, I want to appreciate the state government for this CNG bus initiative. And I also want to ask that why is it that part of the CNG bus cannot be distributed to areas like Ogun side?
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, Adetutu.
Thank you. I know that at a point, one of those, those buses already operating plied the axis. But maybe Adetutu is trying to inform us now that that's not happening again. But I want to assure you, like Oliver Twist, they want to assure you that with this 100 buses initiative, I am sure that the transporters who want to do business would deploy their buses in that direction. Because they are going to take it from government and they will be paying instrumentally. It is spread to make it easy for them.
All right.
They pay for a long time. So they have the buses. They determine where it will go.
Okay, those are their capacity.
It's cheaper.
Those are their capacity is more than 18-seat capacity. Schools will resume next week. Will they be deployed? We see some at Okemoso. We see some flying Mowe Bafuasis. They are bigger ones, more than 18.
You know that schools,
these children can also feel the
impact of government. I am sure that by the time we have this arrangement in place, all those areas we think these things should go, it will go there.
All right.
Beyond government providing it now, there is also the private sector involvement.
Okay.
So,
all right. Otubadare Odufowokun has been our guest on the last leg of the program this midweek, talking about New Dawn. We've been looking at the 100 buses of CNG that Ogun State government will soon roll out in a matter of hours, in a matter of days, because federal government has seeing that Ogun State government is top-notch in the area of our CNG, and that is why even 20 buses will be coming from the federal government, and not less than 500 kits of conversion kits will also be coming from the federal government to Ogun State government. So we say kudos to Prince Dapo Abeokuta for that initiative, for taking the lead, because that is where the world is into. So we want to thank you so much for this insightful analysis that you have given, and for also opening our eyes to more about this initiative. So that's how we'll call it today. For me, I remain to the keep flourishing in the peace of the Most High, and for my colleague,
yes, I am Dominic Agbeha. We thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.